Hello, everybody. This is Carolyn Carger with COA, and this is our very first episode of Maturing with COA. And our guest today is Mr. Tom Torretta, and Tom works for COA, and Tom is the development director. So, hi, Tom.
Hello. And I am a substitute for the first one, so
Right,
we had a
supposed
little
to have
emergency.
a little emergency, and hopefully we'll be able to reschedule with Michelle Sanchez soon. But really happy. I intended to have you on the show anyway because your story is so interesting. And
Oh, I hope so.
yeah, and if anyone is watching right now, I hope we have some people watching. You'll probably be able to tell that Tom and I come from a similar part of the country. And one thing I've
Damn
noticed,
Yankees.
one thing I've noticed is that when you put two of us together, it seems to accentuate
Gets
the
worse.
the New Yorkese. So my
Yes.
apologies. I've been in Florida for maybe 12 years, and I think it has improved my English. But with Tom,
Hasn't helped me at all.
take a step back, right? Well, it hasn't helped Tom anyway. All right, well, I'm glad you're here. And the idea for this show is that we're not just getting older, we're maturing. And what I mean by that is similar to a piece of fruit on a tree, we're ripening. So if you're still on the tree, you're still developing. And how can we be
Growing.
more? We're growing. We have an opportunity to become more, not just to become old. So we're going to have conversations, and this is our very first one. So everybody, please bear with us. If you have comments, please make the comments, and we will reply to you afterwards, because the way that we're doing this, there's a 20-second delay. So we won't be able to respond live to your questions.
And I can't multitask like that anyway, so.
Me neither. And the latest research is that multitasking is a myth, that people's productivity when they try and juggle multiple things, like really, really plummets. So now I don't
They
feel
just had
so
to
bad.
ask me. I could have saved them all that time in research.
I always
There was no
thought
need.
it was a weakness that I'm not good at juggling. I can't do two things at once. But anyway, so now they've taken away the stigma.
All good.
Well, anyway, so the reason why we thought you would be somebody great to talk to is because you made a drastic change in your career in midlife. Would you say that's true?
Yes.
Okay, so would you mind telling us how you started your career, what industry you worked in?
Sure. No, not a nice. So I went to St. John's University for my computer science degree. When I was in grammar school, I remember in my 8th grade yearbook, my dream job when we asked that question was to be a computer programmer for NASA. So I knew from a young age, I really liked technology and computers. So that's what I wanted to do. So I got my computer science degree from St. John's University. While I was at St. John's University, I worked in the computer lab and I helped people with their computers. And my first job out of school was a programmer on Wall Street, and I was writing computer codes, and I was so excited because I was in the hustle and bustle of Wall Street. And I always said to my father, who worked his whole life on Wall Street, that I was not going to be one of the guys counting stocks and bonds and working on Wall Street, and that I was going to get out of that industry. But I wound up working on Wall Street as a programmer, which was okay. It was what I wanted to do, just not where I wanted to do it. And I was doing programming and I was automating work that people were doing manually. And I thought it was great because I was, getting all this done. And then I went back to visit one of those departments and the floor was empty. And so I asked around and it turned out that I was putting people out of work for a living. That was my job. I was taking what they were doing manually and automating it so that they didn't have to pay those people. And when I found that out, it was like, well, guess what Tom's not doing anymore? Tom's not working on Wall Street as a programmer. So my first job change was when my wife and we relocated to Arizona and I started working at Motorola in their IT department, but I was doing the computer support side. So the help desk and the desktop support stuff. This way, at least I wasn't putting people out of work. I was helping people instead of automating their jobs. So that's what I did for 20 plus years. I was in IT.
Okay. So what happened that, I mean, obviously now you work for Council on Aging and we're a nonprofit service charitable organization. What happened that made you decide to make such a drastic shift in your path?
Okay, so there's a little story with this. It was about 2003 or 2004. I started working at a new company. It was a real estate development company in Scottsdale, Arizona, and they would do the land development. So they would find land and then get like a Pulte and other homes to build homes to their specs and sell the land and put in all the infrastructure, golf courses and all that fun stuff. So I was doing their IT support. Again, I was the manager of the IT department. And they would do a project every year called Rebuilding Together, where they would target a neighborhood, this Rebuilding Together or nonprofit would target a neighborhood, and different companies would pick a house that was usually owned by a senior citizen. And we would go in and sort of like a Habitat for Humanity light, we would go into that house that already existed, and the company would pay the bill and have the electricity upgraded, the air conditioning upgraded, the heat upgraded, do the bathrooms over and the kitchen over. All the big work would happen before the day of the event. And on the day of the event, that company's staff would go and we would do landscaping and we would do painting and, maybe assemble beds. We put together a swing set for this family. And the family we wound up doing it for was grandparents taking care of 5 of their grandkids.
Wow.
Because one of their children had passed away. She had a drug addiction problem and she passed away. And another one was in prison for whatever reason. So they were taking care of their grandkids. And they had thought they were going to be retiring and that wasn't happening for them. So, we stepped in and we did all this fun work. Well, I was very naive at the time. I had no idea that people lived like this. I'm embarrassed about that, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, the ice cream truck was coming down the block. And I went up to the grandmother and I asked her if I could buy the kids ice cream. Simple. And she said, sure. So I took them across the street and we get to the ice cream truck and they're all excited and they're looking and one wants a push-up and one wants a bag of chips and they're all starting to argue with each other because one wants one thing and one wants another and they can't have it. So I said to them, guys, everyone just pick whatever you want. You don't have to share it. Pick what you want. And you would think I said, everyone, let's get on a plane first class. We're going to Disney World to see Mickey and Minnie Mouse. So when I saw that, I get teary-eyed every time this happens. When I saw that reaction to a simple thing like you guys can have whatever ice cream you want.
Yeah.
It just blew my mind that people had to live like that. They had to choose the one thing that 5 people were going to share. I mean, and then in the house, seeing how people were living, it really just blew my mind. So went back across the street to my wife who was painting and I told her that, I know I'm making good money doing what I'm doing, but it's not going to cut it anymore. I have to. So that's when I decided I was going to go back to school and get my master's in nonprofit studies.
Wow. That's really powerful. Powerful story. So, and it shows how you were in contact with, it was a nonprofit organization that organized this, right? That organized these renovation projects?
Yep.
Yeah.
We did.
So you came in
There was
contact with them?
2 people in that nonprofit did all that work.
Wow.
They would go out and target neighborhoods and then find the corporations that would fund all the big projects and then.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, and they had an impact on your life.
You sure did.
So you went back to school and you got your, what'd you say, your master's in nonprofit organization management or something?
Nonprofit management, yeah.
Nonprofit management, okay. And then you went into nonprofit work. How did you get into that? What part of it?
So the way I wound up doing it was I used my network and the people that I knew who were on boards of different organizations to help get my resume into the building. And then I interviewed, and I happened to interview with a person at an organization called the Arizona Grantmakers Forum, and she was a 2-person show. It was her and an intern, and she needed me to do everything she wasn't doing basically because the intern was leaving. So the hardest part that I had was convincing her that yes, I was leaving my 6-figure job to get paid $30,000 a year to do everything she didn't want to do. She couldn't believe I was doing that. So it took a lot of convincing, and it took the person that I knew calling her and actually convincing her that, yes, he's a maniac and he'll do these crazy things. So that's how I got my foot in the door and got started. For anyone who's out there who's wondering, I'm thinking I might want to work for a nonprofit instead of a for-profit. The easiest thing to do is find a nonprofit or two that you really are passionate about and volunteer with them. And let them know while you're volunteering with them that you're really looking to get into the nonprofit world. Because I've seen it over and over again where people who are volunteers, Becky Yanni, our executive director, started at the Council on Aging as a volunteer. And now she's running the Council on Aging. So it happens. It's just, that's the easiest way to get people to know who you are and to know that you're serious about wanting to move.
Yeah, and for you to get to know them and what they do.
Exactly right. And making sure you like what they're doing and it fits your wheelhouse and all that.
Yeah. Okay, so so I know that you worked in the nonprofit world on the giving grant monies away, right?
Yep.
So when you came to Florida, you worked for an organization that distributes funding to nonprofit organizations.
The Arthur Finding Davis's foundation. The Arthur Finding Davis Foundations I was working for in Florida. And before that, I was at the Arizona Community Foundation for a while, giving money away. So I was on the side of the nonprofit world that has the money that's then giving it to the nonprofits. Yeah.
So you worked on both sides. So you started out working for a nonprofit that was providing services to people.
Correct.
And then you worked in the foundation side that was deciding who gets what money.
Correct.
Right. Okay. And then so we'll fast forward to Council on Aging in St. Augustine. But before we do that, or maybe at the same time, well, how did you hear about Council on Aging in general?
Well, I was working in Jacksonville and I knew a bunch of people working in different foundations up in that area. And, I was telling them that I would love to be having more direct impact where I live, because the Arthur Finding Davis Foundations, it's a great organization. They give money away nationwide. They give money to PBS. So you may have heard this program brought to you by the Arthur Finding Davis Foundations. Well, that's the organization. They also did a lot of stuff with medical research. So Mayo Clinic and hospitals, they give them money to do that kind of research. Back in the 60s and 70s, one of the things they did was they helped to bring hospice from the UK over to the United States as a concept,
right?
Because it was very new back then.
Yeah.
So they did a lot of things like that. But I wanted to have more of a direct impact where I lived. So I was asking people, and one of them suggested that I reach out to Becky Yanni at the Council on Aging, which I had no idea was down the block from where I live, basically. So when I found that out, it was like, that's where I'm going to work. Working with seniors, I want to do that. Working down the block, I could walk. I want to do that. So that's how I got that ball rolling.
But you told me that that a Council on Aging already had an impact in your life when you arrived at our Council on Aging. Do you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Not at all. My grandfather and grandmother. So my grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in the late 90s, early 2000s. And so my grandparents at that time were in Arizona alone, because for 4 years, Eileen and I went back to New Jersey, and then we wound up going back to Arizona. But we got them set up, and they were getting Meals on Wheels delivered to their house, because my grandfather refused to use a microwave, and he's not a cook. So when my grandmother had Alzheimer's and could no longer cook and do any of the bills and all that, my grandfather was doing all that on his own and taking care of my grandmother. So we were able to get an organization like the Council on Aging to come in and help with the Meals on Wheels, and another group came in and helped with the in-home care and making sure that that stuff was taken care of, so that, they were able to do what they had to do.
So that type of Council on Aging had great value for your family.
Oh yeah, you're not kidding.
Yeah. So now you are the development director at Council on Aging.
Mm-hmm.
I find in the communications end that frequently people are confused by the name Council on Aging, and frequently people assume that we're a government agency, so that we're part of St. Johns County, when,
Mhm.
as you know, in fact, we're a private 501c3 nonprofit charitable service organization. So it's not like we're funded with the pockets of the government entirely.
Right.
So can you just briefly explain why development is important to our organization, Council on Aging?
Sure. And I think I'm going to take this opportunity to talk a little bit more about COA in general, because I don't think people realize all the parts and pieces that
I think you're right.
encompass this umbrella organization. Because, for example, like I said, my grandparents in Arizona, I had to go to 2 and 3 different organizations to get the pieces that they needed. Whereas we're fortunate enough that at this Council on Aging, we do almost everything ourselves other than housing, basically.
Yeah, it's the Cadillac
Handle
plan.
everything. Exactly. So, but as a nonprofit, we do a lot of things, and we do get money from the government. So there's the Older Americans Act where we get a lot of money. But that money doesn't nearly cover all the things we do. We do Meals on Wheels. We have our IMEP, which is our Integrated Memory Enhancement Program. If you don't know what that is, that's for people who have the early stages of Alzheimer's or other dementias, or the people that just want, or memory loss, or just people who want to keep their brain sharp. It's a program, and there's a 5-hour program, and then there's also an 1.5-hour memory module program. And what it does is it uses different concepts and different word games and math games and exercises and aromatherapy and all different kinds of stretching and
Meditation.
different things to exercise different parts of the brain on different days. So it's very, very beneficial. And we also have our Sunshine Center, which is our adult daycare. We have caregiver support programs where you can come as a caregiver and just meet with other people going through the same thing you're going through, dealing with folks with dementia or other issues, and just help each other out. We have 5 senior centers, 3 of which are congregate meal sites when we're open. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we're not open. We have our independent living services. We have our Care Connection department, which is 100% donor funded and almost completely volunteer run, where we give away wheelchairs, walkers, and other assistive devices. We build wheelchair ramps. We mow people's lawns. We do minor home repairs. We do pet food for people. Oh, so many different things in that one
That
little
are not
department
funded, that don't have.
that are all not
funding
funded. There's
sources.
no other way that people are going to get that kind of help
Right.
other than our donors making that happen. We run the Sunshine Bus, which is public transportation. We run the paratransit, which is non-emergency transportation to and from different places. And then we have our coastal transportation, which is a shuttle service for weddings or airport rides or rides to the pier or any other things. There's probably more that I'm missing, but there's so many things that we do. And it all takes money to do, because in order to do all these things, we need to have staff. We do have a lot of volunteers, but you still need staff, especially for an organization this size. So in order to keep all these balls in the air and everything running, we rely heavily on the community to help us make the difference between what's funded and what's not funded versus what the needs are in the community.
Right.
So we don't want to just say, well, we're funded to do this, so that's all we're going to do. We would rather not do that and say, sorry, we can't help you because we don't have enough money. So what we do is we reach out to the community and ask them to help fill the gap between the needs and the funding that we get from the government
Right.
and from our private pay services. Because everything we do at the Council on Aging, you could pay for privately if you have the money, or it could possibly be subsidized if you don't. And there's a process for that.
If there's a program that will supply funding, and there isn't always a
Exactly.
program. And so
Yes.
that's where development comes in. And I just wanted to
Exactly.
mention that the overarching mission of Council on Aging, one of the important ones is supporting people in maintaining their independence. So like
And
your
their dignity.
grandfather
Right.
and their dignity. So as you need help changing the light bulb, you need help keeping your lawn up, you can't push the lawnmower anymore, and maybe you can't afford to hire someone to do it. You need help in your house with some minor repairs. You need help getting to the doctor. All these things that Council on Aging strives to provide will help people maintain their independence and stay in their homes if they wish for as
Right.
long as possible, and maintain their connections in their neighborhood and stay where all their memories were made. And so this is a really, really noble cause. And so thanks for explaining why development is important to Council on Aging, especially during COVID. Do you want to talk about how COVID has impacted the resources that we have to continue
Yes.
to provide these services?
Sure. I'm sure everyone at this point knows that COVID is affecting folks who are over 65 and over and those with compromised immune systems more than anyone else in a very negative way. And folks who are 60 or older are the people that we serve generally. So it's definitely affecting our population. For example, since March 13th, our senior centers, our IMEP programs, and our Sunshine Center have not been able to meet in person. Caregiver support group, none of those people are meeting in person. We've had to shift a lot of that kind of stuff that we can do to online or virtual. Well, when you do it online or virtually, it's not covered by those government grants necessarily. So we're not getting funded from the government the way we ordinarily would, but we're still trying to serve those people who we, for 40 some years, have been telling that isolation and loneliness is bad for you, and it leads to depression, and you need to stay socially active, and you need to be involved in the community, but now stay home. So we're trying to help them socialize. So instead of practicing social distancing, we're telling people to practice physical distancing, but to stay social. It's very important that you stay social. Even if you're stuck in your home, figure out a way to get onto some of these. There's different chat sessions that you can do. There are different video programs you can do where you could just interact with people, maybe your neighbors, maybe your family, maybe friends, and just see them visually on the computer. It's not ideal, but it's better than sitting home alone. So,
Right. And we've
but some
moved
of the
a lot of
things,
our programs online.
right.
So we have River House Presents. So we have River House instructors that are doing
Mm-hmm.
courses that people can access 24 hours a day on COA's YouTube channel and other programs, right?
We have our IMEP at home,
Right.
which is the IMEP program, but people are doing it from their homes instead of going to their different
Online.
locations to do it. We have the Sunshine Center is doing programming virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing through like a Zoom session where you meet and see your friends from the Sunshine Center, and you can interact with each other and do the different programs. And then we're also doing a similar thing with the caregiver support group, which is very important because the caregivers still need support, even though they can't meet face to face. So, but all these things need funding. And the only way we can make that happen is by the generosity of people in the community.
Right.
That's the long and the short of it.
Right. Because since we had to move to virtual, for some reason, the funding hasn't caught up with the current circumstances that everyone's in. So since we're not meeting in person, the funding is not available. Am I right?
Well, the government funding isn't as
Government
available as it
funding.
was.
Right. So that's why we keep turning to the community and asking for your help. So how can people help? I know we have business supporters. We have businesses in the community. Why don't we talk about them first, Tom? Businesses in the community help us. We love to tell people about it. It's important for people to know which businesses in our community have made a commitment to supporting seniors and caregivers. So you want to talk about our business supporters first?
Sure. And unfortunately, I don't have a list of all the business supporters in front of me. But for example, I can tell you that our caring partners are Endless Summer Realty. They're a caring partner with our Meals on Wheels program. We have Island Doctors, and they've been for years a supporter of our Sunshine Center and other programs. We have Christ Episcopal Church. They're supporting our care. They help with our Care Connection as a sponsor for that program. And then we have Republic Services, and they support the Ponte Vedra Senior Center, which unfortunately is closed right now, but they've been a supporter for many years on that. And Flagler Hospital has just been a huge supporter when it comes to everything we're doing here at the Council on Aging. They even fund our prescription assistant program, which last year I think saved over $2 million for seniors, for like 100 and some seniors or 200 and some seniors in our community.
Yeah.
$2 million in prescription costs because of this one program.
Right. So seniors who can't afford their prescriptions can contact COA, and we have a department that will help you deal with the red tape and the paperwork of applying, because a lot of pharmaceutical companies have special prescription assistance programs where if you qualify, you can qualify for free or reduced cost, but I think it's mostly free prescriptions. And Flagler Hospital has been a great partner with us to fund that program.
Right. And then we have other business supporters like Ward Medical, Ameris Bank, Center State Bank. There are so many different organizations that are always willing to go over and above to help the seniors in the community. And I
Mhm.
think what we need to do is maybe publish some kind of list so people can see. On our website, we have that list. I think
Yeah.
I have a community partners page where you can see all the different organizations that are already supporting the Council on Aging. And so if you're looking to see what organizations work with us already, because maybe they're the people you want to work with, you should go to our community partner page and just check out all the different businesses that are up there. I mean, they are
Yeah.
really, really helpful in making
Yeah.
this magic happen.
Yeah. And if you happen to see them in the course of your day, I would really, really love it if you would thank them for
Then we even
supporting
have
COA.
people, we have people like Don and Levon Blackburn, who for years and years have been major donors and making magic happen for us.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be a business. There are individuals out there who know the important work we do. And sometimes it's because they've run into a need and found that Council on Aging was there for them, and
Or their
helped with
family.
the IMEP program, or helped with by getting there in the senior center and then into the IMEP program down the road, and or the Sunshine Center, so that they can go to work or get some respite time or whatever it might be. And that may be where they ran into us first. Or sometimes it's just because they know that their parent or their grandparent, or maybe they themselves will one day need this service. So they know that it's important work and they're going to need Meals on Wheels one day. So they help make it happen. So
We have a new group for individuals who want to help called Elder Guard.
We do.
So would you like to tell us about that program and how people can get involved that way?
Sure. So we have this new group called the Elder Guard, and basically for $20 a month or $250 a year, you can be considered a member of the Elder Guard. It's easy to donate for the Elder Guard if you go to www.bit.ly/elderguard, one word, ELDERGUARD. You can donate on our website, and you can make it a monthly donation, and you don't even have to think about it. It'll just happen every month. You'll do $20 or up to or whatever amount you want to donate. It doesn't have to be $20.
Right.
But you'll be a part of the Elder Guard, and you'll be joining a group of people who are making a difference in the lives of seniors.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. I know my grandfather wanted to stay home till he passed away, and I was able to do that for him because of organizations like the Council on Aging. And I know there are others out there who want that same thing.
Right.
So,
And if you give an amount monthly, it makes less of an impact on your budget, and you could really, really help Council on Aging sail through this crisis and then into the future help seniors going forward, no matter what the crisis might be going forward. But we really do
Right.
need people's help now during this terrible crisis.
right.
know.
And similarly, for $100 a month or $1,000 a year, you could be a friend of COA while you're a part of this Elder Guard, and you'll get your name on a plaque at River House, and you'll just be making that much more of an impact, helping the seniors be able to live their best possible lives. Not everyone is fortunate enough to have a pension or to have a big 401k, and
Or
so,
to have
but-
family close.
right. But they all want to just live their best possible lives, enjoy these last chapters of their lives and continue to mature and grow and develop, and no one should be kept from doing that. We do our best to help people continue doing that.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, I thank you for being on the show. This has been really fun. I want to end by asking you a couple of questions that deal with your maturing process.
Before we do that, can I
Yeah.
just ask, I just want to mention that there's other ways to give. Planned giving, for example, is an
Oh, yeah.
easy way to give, and you don't have to give a dime now. The idea is you work with your financial advisor or whoever it is that you go to for your advice, and you just make COA the beneficiary on an insurance policy or an IRA or related to your stocks, maybe your stock portfolio. Make us a beneficiary, and then when you pass away, COA would benefit, your family would benefit from a tax break, and you don't feel anything now. So there's different ways to give other than cash now. I just
Right.
want to make that clear.
And so you mentioned IRAs. Sometimes people have to make
When you're 70 and a half, I think it is, or 72 and a half, you have to have a mandatory withdrawal from your IRA. If you don't want that because it's going to impact you
tax reasons.
tax-wise, you could make the
Designate it.
COA the beneficiary, designate COA as the beneficiary of that. And then you don't feel the tax hit, neither does your family, and COA
do good.
benefits, and we can help a lot of people.
right.
Sorry, now you can go back to
Great
your
advice.
questions.
Sorry, no, I wanted to end up by asking you a couple of questions, which I
Uh-oh.
think will help people think about their own lives. And we're going to
Hmm.
ask everybody these questions, Tom, so you have to be first.
Okay.
So the first question is, if you could go back in time and give yourself advice when
Hmm.
you were 18 years old, based on your perspective now, can you think of some piece of wisdom you would share with yourself?
Yes, probably two things. So the first thing would be listen to your grandfather and get a job that gives you a pension. Work that job for 25 years or so, and then if you want to do something else, knock yourself out, but at least you'll have a pension.
Okay,
Shame on Tom for not doing that.
okay.
Number two, lose weight while you're young, because it's a lot harder to do when you get older. So watch what you're eating and exercise right away.
Okay, good advice. If we have any 18-year-olds watching, you just heard the benefit of experience here.
Sage advice.
Sage advice from Tom Torretta. Okay,
Right.
and the follow-up question to that is, if you could speak to yourself, go back in time, back to the future, and give yourself at 40 years old some wisdom,
Mhm.
can you think of anything you would tell yourself at 40?
It would probably be that, because at that point I was thinking about working for a nonprofit, it would be do it, go for it. It's so much, I have so much less stress in my life because I know every day I go to work to help people. I'm not helping a bottom line at a company making profits that I'm not really seeing the benefit of. I'm helping people literally live their best possible lives.
Yeah,
So I'm so happy that I made that decision, and I would tell myself to do it again and again.
well, that's great. That's great. And everybody can help in this mission. And
Oh, yeah.
all they need to do is contact you.
Contact us, send us a check.
So people
We-
can go to our website if they want to help us in our mission. It's www.coasjc.org. And oh, sorry
Donate
about
now
that.
button.
And there's a donate now button on there. They can also go to the Elder Guard site, which is www.bit.ly/elderguard, all lowercase. They can call us if you want to speak to Tom about some of these other ways of helping. They can call COA and ask for Tom at 904-209-3700 or email you. Is that okay?
Sure, yeah.
Torretta, TTORRETTA at COASJC.org. And that's another way. Or you can mail a check if you like, if that's easiest for you, to COA at 180 Marine Street, St. Augustine, and the zip code is 32084. And anyway, thank you for
I
being
also want to
on.
make it, I
Yeah.
just want to make it perfectly clear too, that the 904-209-3700 number gets you to our front desk receptionist who are working from home. But that number gets you to everything and anything. So you can call that number if you need help with any of the things we talked about, if you want Meals on Wheels, if you want to make a donation, that one number is the only number you have to remember.
Right. That's right. If you need our help, or if you know somebody who needs our help, please
Or if you
call.
want to help.
Or if you
Right.
want to help, call us. And we have two
Tell your friends
amazing,
too.
and tell your friends. And we have two amazing receptionists that we need to give a shout out to. We have Barb and we have Martha, and they are so upbeat and so personable, and they are there not just to help you find resources, but if you feel like you just want to chat, if you just want to check in with somebody and just chat and just talk about what you're experiencing, or reconnect with a person, that's part of their job. So we want everybody to know and feel welcome to call Martha and Barb and have a nice chat if that's
And
all you
something
want.
else I'd love to bring out, if there's anyone out there who's watching right now who's been impacted in a positive way by the work that the Council on Aging does, we would love to hear your story and share your story. I mean,
Yes.
Carolyn does our Facebook and she does our e-newsletter, and we're always looking for stories that talk about how people were at a place where they needed help and the Council on Aging was there to help them. We always love to share how we've been able to help. So if you're out there or you know someone who's out there and they may want to share their story and talk about the positive things that the Council on Aging has done to help them live their best possible lives, we'd love to share it.
We would. And all you need to do is leave a comment, and then I can get back in touch with you and we can talk about whatever your story is. You can contact us on Facebook too if you need information. You can just direct message us or leave a comment on this video. Thank you everybody for being part of this first Maturing with COA video.
Yay.
Yes, Tom and I'm so glad it was the two of us to do this together, because this was our idea, and we hope you enjoyed it. And we will get back, we'll post on Facebook and put in the e-newsletter when we have the next one arranged. And hopefully we can continue to inspire people to mature and keep growing and keep getting better, keep becoming more of who you're meant to be, and enjoy this wonderful part of your life.
Exactly right. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. Well, we're doing it. We're all doing it. That's the great thing about maturing is you're doing it. Little children are doing it. People who are 100 years old are doing it. As long as we're here, that's my belief anyway.
Right. Yep.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, everybody.
All righty.
Have a great week.
Take care.
Bye-bye.